This demo is on working with layers. There's our layer palette right here. If you don't see your layer palette, you can find it under Window, Layers, and it'll come up. Okay, I'm just going to tear off my geometric shape tools and draw some shapes. And throw some colors on them. Okay, so I've got some geometric shapes and they're stacked on top of each other. And we look at our layer right here. If we, first of all, if we want to make a new layer, all we do is click on this little create new layer icon. It'll make a new one above the layer you're on. Now, back on layer 1, if I turn this down arrow, I can see I have sublayers. Every time you draw a shape in Illustrator, it will create a sublayer. Okay, if I want to put another one, just to show you, if I draw another shape here, see it adds another sublayer. You can also create a sublayer on this icon right here, create new sublayer. That'll give you a blank sublayer that you can now draw on. Okay, so those are your sublayers. Now if you want to select an object on a layer, right now if I click on this little circle, it'll select everything on that layer, as you can see. If I open up my sublayers and I want to just select one object, I click on that circle and it'll select that object for me. Okay. If I hold down Shift, I can select multiple ones. Now, if I want to move an object to another layer, first of all, I'll select one. And then I'm going to close my sublayers. So right now, this layer has blue anchor points. If I want to move this to the next layer, I just grab the anchor point and drag it up. You can see now it has changed to red, and it's now on that layer. Now, speaking of anchor point colors, if we double click on our little thumbnail here, we have layer options, and we can change the color of the anchor point. Sometimes that's important because you might be drawing a line or a shape that's the same color and it's blending in. So you can just pick a new color and it'll change your anchor points to that color now. All right. Now, if you want to create a group layer, you just select everything on that layer. And then we'll just hit, I'll hide this top layer. We'll just hit Command G. Now everything on that layer is grouped. And you can see it created a group layer. If I click on a little circle, it'll select everything in the group. And like all things that are grouped, if you take your direct selection tool, white arrow, you can select them individually without ungrouping them. Okay, I'm going to select everything in that group and ungroup it, which is Object Ungroup or Shift Command G. And now they're back to just stacked in that layer. Now, you can change the stacking order of layers. I'm going to delete this empty one just by dragging them. Okay, and let me move this guy up here so we can see the stacking of them. So if you drag them, you can see how it changes the stacking order. Okay, you can also do that by hitting Command left bracket, right bracket. That's bring to front, send to back, and you can see how it's changing it in there as you're doing it. Okay, you want to name your layers, you just got to click right there and just name it. Usually name it what it is. If you're going to hide a layer, all you got to do is click on the eyeball. That'll hide it for you. If you want to duplicate a layer, there's two ways of doing that. One way is just select the layer, go into your little drop down, and drag to duplicate. And it'll make a copy of it for you. It'll tell you that it's copied. Okay. If you want to merge two layers, if you hold down Shift, you can select both of them and go into your little drop down here and merge selected. It'll merge them onto one layer. If you want to, we've already duplicated. If you want to lock a layer, just click on that little lock. It's always good to keep the scan that you're tracing locked so you don't accidentally draw on that layer. If you want to delete a layer, you can drag it, or delete a sublayer. You can drag it into the garbage can. It'll delete it for you. Or you can select it, go into your little drop down, and tell it to delete. Now, if you have any artwork on there, it's going to ask you first. You sure you want to delete it because it contains artwork? And that's a good reminder. You might not want to, but we'll just delete it out of there. Okay, that is the layers demo for Illustrator.